speaker, Andrea Janzen. Andrea is a passionate and driven leadership coach who believes in setting goals and getting results. She's also an advocate for women and diversity issues in the workplace and speaks at conferences all across North America. Andrea is a fierce fundraiser, just like our other two speakers, and participated in the first Man Woman of the Year campaign in Halifax. Andrea lives with her husband and 3 children in beautiful Nova Scotia, and in her free time, she enjoys running and stand-up paddleboarding. It is an honor to introduce to you today, Andrea Janzen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me on this beautiful afternoon to talk about raising money and my story of running for Woman of the Year in 2020. And I want to take you back and just share with you a little bit about my story, because I know in the past, the poll that you just did, half of you said that you share your story every single time. And then Ashley said, a lot of people don't think they have a story to tell. And that was me. I didn't really think I had a story to tell. And I'm going to share my story with you right now because it's been an incredible journey. And to be honest, I think it's the only thing that allowed me to raise, actually be part of a team that raised $280,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society during COVID, and my team raised $22,000. And this was really the first big fundraiser I've ever done in my life. So I will take you back though to where it started. So late 2019, I met Trudy Dyer, who is here, who is the executive director here in Halifax. And she saw me speak at an event and we exchanged contact information, and couple weeks later, she reached out to me and asked to go out for coffee. And of course I said yes. She said, I want to, ask your opinion about something. And I'm like, sure, you're a nice person. I will meet you for coffee. And we're having coffee. And she said, Andrea, we're running this campaign. It's called Man and Woman of the Year. And we're looking for local business leaders to participate and raise money. And she's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Sounds good. You want my opinion on like who to pick? That's what I thought the meeting was for. And she said, I think you would be a great candidate. And my immediate reaction was, she's got the wrong person, like not me. Number one, I am not the kind of business leader that she thinks I am. Number two, I am not a fundraiser. I don't know how to do it. And number 3 was, I don't have a personal connection to the cause. And it's really interesting because she said, okay, well, Andrea, will you just listen? And I said, okay, I will listen. And she said, at your workshop, you shared a slide. And I think, Ashley, can you go to my next slide? Because I want to share it with you guys right now. So in everything that I do in my business, so I have a leadership coaching business, and the number 1 rule of working with me and that we use with our clients is this picture, and it is your comfort zone. And when you get out of your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. But the thing that is not on this slide that I want to share with you today, and that was like those thoughts going through my head, was that as soon as Trudy asked me to do this big fundraiser, literally that was me getting out of my comfort zone. But when that happens, the fear, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome all shows up in your head. But the thing is, that means you're in the magic zone. So I'm telling Trudy about all these reasons why I cannot do this fundraiser. Like, I don't have a big network. I'm not the person you need. I don't have a personal story. There's all these reasons. And she literally has this notebook in front of her, and she opens it and she shows me a postcard. And it was actually the postcard that I had given her when I met her at the talk with this image on it. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, I will think about it. I will think about it. And so I did. And we met downtown, and I'd ridden my bike to that meeting. And the biggest barrier for me in that moment was I didn't think I had a personal connection to the cause. And that was the biggest block for me. And I didn't think I had a story to tell. So why would anybody want to support me in this initiative? And I started biking home, and it's not very far. And by the time I got home, I could literally think of 10 people just off the top of my head that were affected by leukemia or lymphoma in that moment. And then by the time I walked into the door of my house, the decision was made. They're like, I need to do it. This is this opportunity Trudy's given me. She's placed right in front of me. I need to do this for all of these people that I know, even though I didn't really feel like I had that story. And so I signed up, and this was in January, And things were good. I had a team in place. We had events. We were going to do hockey fundraisers. We were going to have some parties. It was all great. Everything was going to be fantastic. And then COVID hit, and I got a message from Trudy that said, it's not canceled. The fundraiser is still on. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Like, this would be an easy out, right? Like, I committed to this when there was going to be events, when we could see people in person, and it was canceled. And I talked to Vanessa as well, and something that they said, we're not canceling this fundraising event. We're still going to do it because cancer isn't canceled. And that really spoke to me. And it spoke to me as really being a leader. And in times of crisis, that's when you need leaders to step up. And there was this opportunity, even though things were uncertain, even though we couldn't really leave our house, even though I wasn't actually that confident I could raise a lot of money before COVID, it just put this opportunity right in front of me that in crisis, leaders need to step up. And there was this opportunity, and the light was on me to step up and do something. And so I said, you know what, that's fine. We'll figure it out. You'll be there to help me. Yes, I'm still in. Let's do it. And the interesting thing that happened was the original goal that I agreed to was $10,000. And because of COVID, the team decided that they would give us each a $5,000 goal. So I'm like, okay, I could do the $5,000 goal. And the next day, I actually had a meeting with one of my clients. And the meeting was going really well. And there was 5 minutes left in the meeting, and I told my client this story. And my goal was to just get this person on my team. I wanted this person to agree to be on my fundraising team because COVID had actually, a couple people had dropped off of the team because of COVID. So I'm in this meeting, it's on a video conference, and I tell him the story of how Trudy literally gave me a taste of my own medicine and got me to sign up for this fundraiser. And I told him I need to raise $5,000. Will you help me? And he looked me in the eye, just like I'm looking you in the eye right now on a video conference software, and said, Andrea, $5,000 is too small of a goal for you. If you raise $5,000, I will match it. And I was like, wow, it's working. Like, the magic is happening. And so the next day, or maybe a couple days later, I had a team meeting, and I told this to my team, and Steve, one of my team members, said, Andrea, you got the match. Like, now we need to raise more than $5,000. Let's raise $10,000 and then we'll get $15,000. And I was like, oh, I got uncomfortable again, but he was really excited. And I said, okay, let's do it. And I thought I was really smart. I'm like, well, if one person's going to give me $5,000, like, why don't we just kind of go big or go home? That was kind of our strategy. And so I challenged my team to actually go out and see if we could get another big corporate match. Because I thought, you know what, if we could get $10,000 in matches, then we could raise $20,000. And the cool thing that happened is my team actually went out and did it. So we were able to get $10,000 in corporate matches, which was pretty incredible. And it sounds really easy. It sounds kind of almost unreal as I'm telling this story right now. But the way that we did it, and I wanted to kind of break it down because I didn't think about it. We just did. We just took action. We just figured it out. We tweaked and we kept moving forward. But when Trudy asked me to share this story with you, I kind of wanted to reverse engineer to see what made this successful. And I think the first thing, it's really just this slide, is just recognize that you need to get out of your comfort zone because that is where the magic happens. And the second thing is the story and making the story about you. And the interesting thing about my story is it's really different than most people. It was different and very unique than every other candidate in the Man and Woman of the Year contest. Nobody has a story like mine. And that's what I think helped me to stand out, and really helped people to engage and want to be a part of it. And the fact that I was so confident in my story allowed my team to really figure out what their story was and figure out their own voice and their own way of going out there and asking people. And I do have to tell you, I have this memory. I wish I had recorded that video, but the look on the face on Stuart, that's the man that said, Andrea, the goal is too small, I will match your $5,000, when he said, yes, I will give you $5,000, the look of joy on his face was something that is like imprinted in my mind forever. And it's this thing that people love to be part of something bigger than themselves. People love to be generous, and that generosity brings joy. And by not asking, you're actually robbing people of that opportunity to do something generous, to give and really experience that joy. So that's like the second thing that I learned. So number one is get out of your comfort zone. Number two is make the story about you. And number three is to just ask, because you never know where people are coming from. So that's my story. And I'll show you this right now, actually. So the other day I was walking.
Wait, Andrea, I have it here.
Oh, you have it there. Okay, so, well, I have the newspaper version you can see. So thank you to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society for just acknowledging the work that we did. And it was really incredible journey. I feel like I've never actually seen these people in person, but I feel like we are connected in a whole really special way because we all did this really hard thing. We all worked together and we raised $280,000 when none of us could leave our houses. And I feel so connected to them. And just last week, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society put this beautiful picture in the paper, just acknowledging the work that we did and the contribution that we made. And my neighbor stopped me on the street and said, congratulations, and handed me a copy of that. And it was almost like I forgot that how kind of incredible and how magical that this really was, because at the time I didn't really see it. I was just kind of doing the thing. I was making the asks. I was just telling the story to everybody that would listen, and it worked. So we started out by really focusing on the big asks. So we decided that we're going to get those corporate matches because, you know, telling someone your donation is going to triple was really, really compelling for us. So we started big, and then later we just reached out to people that we knew, and I shared it on my social media. And I have to tell you, like, people that I have not talked to in 15 years stepped up to the plate and donated. And a lot of these people gave $100. So I got a lot. Like, I started with really big donations. We started with the $5,000 donations. We got quite a few $2,500 donations. And then a ton of people stepped up to the plate with $100 donations for me. And so these are my checklists. So number one, get out of the comfort zone. If you only remember one thing from this talk today, get out of the comfort zone. That is the most powerful one. The second one is take action right away. So soon as you decide that you're going to do this, as soon as you decide that maybe you want to up your goal, as soon as you decide or you realize that, you know what, maybe we're not taking enough action towards our goal, we might not going to mean it, just take action as soon as possible. And that could mean telling your story to anybody that could listen. That could mean going to a neighbor and asking. That could be trying to recruit someone else to be on your team. Don't overthink it. Just do it, because people will respond in different ways. And I was a little bit nervous at first about asking for money. And to be honest, last year I did a fundraiser, the MS Bike Tours, and I didn't actually get any sponsors. I sponsored myself. So that is kind of where I used to be. And now I was able to get a team to raise $22,000. So you don't need to be an expert fundraiser to do this. You just need to take action and make those asks and tell your story. And the other thing I want to say is lead by example, because people on your team are going to follow your lead. So instead of telling them what to do, instead of trying to give them tools, I want you to just do it. So I think where the magic really happened is that I really had to get out of my comfort zone. I had to step up to the plate and take on this leadership role. And when my team saw me do it, instead of telling them to do the ask, they were inspired to do it, because they're like, well, if Andrea can get $5,000, why can't I get $5,000? And that's kind of how it rolled out. So that's when I reverse engineered. That's what happened in my story. So I would love to have questions if you guys have any questions, or move on to the next part of this talk. And thank you. And I'm just so inspired by all of you that you are taking action. You are doing this. You are putting yourselves out there when it is hard. It's funny. I do coaching for a living. So I really understand. I understand what is going on for people in the world. And it's interesting because back in March when this started, it was like, there's so much uncertainty in the world today. Like, what are we going to do? But thinking about it now, it's almost like that uncertainty is even bigger. Like it's just going on and on and on, and it's showing up in different ways. So kudos to all of you for having the courage to keep going, putting yourselves out there and doing the right thing and being those leaders that we really, really absolutely need, because cancer is not canceled, and we need all of you to step up to the plate, because the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society needs their money. They need to keep doing research. They need to keep supporting their families, and they need to keep moving forward. And one last thing before we open up to questions, I want to go back to who I did this for. And at the beginning, there wasn't one specific person. It was just like, I'm going to do this because I know so many people. And the day before the gala, I want to tell you about what happened on Facebook. I posted a lot about this on Facebook because I wanted to get donations. And the week before that, I had reconnected with a friend of mine, and I was going to interview her on my podcast. And that day, she had to cancel the interview because she said, Andrea, my nephew's just got diagnosed with cancer. I need to go support my family right now. Can we reschedule the interview? Of course, I said yes. And then a couple of days later, she commented on one of my posts, and she said, Andrea, my nephew has lymphoma. Thank you. Like, people like you are my heroes for stepping up and doing something. And it was such a powerful moment for me, because when I signed up for this fundraiser, I didn't actually even know who I was doing it for. But then I realized Amelia was one of those people, and that I could be that light in probably a really dark time for her. That was just such a powerful motivator for me after the fact. So thank you for listening to my